Okay, so let's recap what happened last night. Jacob and I were trying to fix our quads in this barn with a little bit of equipment and a lot of hope. What happened was I ruined his quad. I tried soldering in a vortex, which to me is just a bad idea. We had to replace his power leads because the XT60 connector was just falling out. And when I did that, I tried to desolder the leads. Ended up melting the plastic connector that's maybe like a 1/16 of an inch away from the leads themselves. That plastic connector held his camera. That's what his camera plugged into. So now he needs a new board. And I'm gonna buy it for him, but he's down for this weekend. I kind of screwed up my quad. I did a bad solder job and it didn't stay. So I'm gonna try and resolder that, get my VTX up, and hopefully we can get at least one quad in the air. Luckily, as you've seen, we got some really good sunrise footage with the Typhoon, which is awesome. I love flying the Typhoon. We're gonna do a lot more practice for that today, and maybe even get a little bit of FPV footage in. So cross your fingers for us. That's the carnage from last night. We finally got these dang pads to unsolder, but at the cost of that connector. So, I'm sorry, Jacob. Hopefully by the time this video gets put up, you'll have a new board. These are bad soldering practices, by the way. I'm well aware of that. I'm sitting in a barn with an extension cord soldering iron and very bad lighting. Don't do this at home, kids. Ain't going nowhere. All right. Step 2. Stinking Lumineer, as far as I know, it's a one-of-a-kind connector that doesn't work with anything. It has, you can see that it has signal, power, then ground. On the other hand, Immersion RC, signal, ground, power. Get it together, guys. This makes life a lot more complicated. Although now that I sit here and I think about it, attaching servo connectors to this, probably the smarter way to do it. So, moral of the story. Yeah, you'd have to cross the wires still, but these come with stripped and tinned ends. This is the connector that comes with one of these Immersion RC VTXs. Slips in. No muss, no fuss. Like that. It comes stripped and tinned, so that you can attach whatever sort of connector you need. Now, I don't have the male servo connectors, but if I did, I wouldn't have needed to chop this up. These two went together. This is the cable that comes with a Lumineer CM650 FPV camera. If I was smart, I would have kept this together. I would have bought male servo leads with 3 wires coming out, or scrounged it or something. And I would have crossed the appropriate lines and soldered them to these. That way, I could have reused this cable. Instead, now, in a few days, when my Lumineer VTX comes back in and I have to redo all of this again, I have to reconnect all these wires. I didn't think this through. Jacob and I have learned several things on this trip, not least of which is that when you plan a trip, make sure all your stuff works beforehand. If you're planning a trip where you're not going to have the facilities to do field repairs, make sure your stuff works like a week in advance. That way you can order parts if you need to, you can check in, double check. Maybe don't do heavy flying, but make sure it all works. We didn't do that. It's really easy in this hobby to get impatient. Parts take time to order. You have spares laying around and you go, hey, I don't need to wait for things, I can just throw things together. You should wait for things, because if you don't, you're going to wind up in a barn with a soldering iron and terrible lighting, no equipment, and making stupid decisions. Anyway, let's finish up this repair. Well, the reason it didn't work is because this plug, which has the same connector as an Immersion RC cord, it was made by, it came from a VTX that I bought. It was some really cheap, not inexpensive, but cheap, Chinese VTX. And this was the one that had the power and ground reversed for everything. Same connector, but it was reversed power ground. So I plugged it in and I sent power up the ground rail, and yeah, basically, if this thing doesn't have like back voltage protection, I toasted it and my camera. However, the light didn't come on, which makes me hope that it's not dead. So I cut it apart. My brand new cables that I attached, now I've cut again, and I'm gonna resolder. I promise, anybody watching this and not quite into the hobbies getting discouraged, if you take an extra 2 minutes and think about things, and if something doesn't feel right, if you're not sure, don't do it. Just wait. Do more reading, do more looking online, ask somebody, look for somebody to ask. It'll save you this headache in the future. Some of you may be asking, why not just wait? Why not take it home, do it right? Well, I'm impatient, and I like to think I'm resourceful enough to fix this. So it's a bad combination. We're gonna do it anyway. Cross your figures. Hey, we have a red light. It's always good. And hey, we got video. We got it, ladies and gentlemen. We did it. Awesome. Not gonna fly it right now because it's super hot out here. And we're gonna go swimming. We're gonna take the Typhoon in and see if we can't do any like follow me practice here at the property first. And then once we do that, we'll go swimming and actually enjoy the day, because the minute that I take this in the air, I have a bad feeling about it.